When I first got into my college, I had this one goal in my mind, not to ask parents for money. Yes, I wanted to take care of all my expenses, and that was something that I wanted to do within those 4 years of my college life. But what after those 4 years, right? Some people want to get a job, some people want to get into freelancing, maybe even start their own business. So, in this video, we will be covering those 4 years and how you can optimize those 4 years in order to make sure that you are set for your path. We will be talking about two main roadmaps. First is if you want to get a full-time job, and second, which is to get into freelancing or start your own business or an agency like myself. Now, let's first talk about getting a job after the end of your 4 years. Now, this is a roadmap that almost everyone follows. It seems pretty straightforward. Just keep your head down, keep a good CGPA, and that's how you will get your dream job at the end.
हाय जेनी,
मुझे तुमसे
बड़ी अच्छी नौकरी मिली है और टाइम पे जाना बहुत जरूरी है. ओके टाटा बाय.
But in reality, it's quite different. Now, when I was in my first year and if I was watching this video, this is what I would have followed throughout those 4 years if I wanted to get a job. So the first thing that you need to focus on is obviously CGPA. But how much CGPA should you be aiming for? First year would be the most easiest one. Now, in this year, try to optimize for at least a 9 CGPA, and then in the second year, you can drop it down to 8.5 CGPA. The reason why I'm telling you all these CGPAs is because at the end of your 3 years or 4 years of your college, there would be companies that would come in your college and have a filtration criteria. So they will only interview students who have a CGPA of above 8.5. Now in the third year, it might get a bit more difficult and you might be participating in a lot of different activities. So your CGPA might go down to 8. That is still fine. Make sure that your CGPA stays above 8.5. To give you an example, in our college, Microsoft had come in and they had a filtration criteria of only taking in students for interview if they had a CGPA of 8.5. Of course, this differs from company to company, and I would really suggest you to talk to your seniors about which companies have a filtration criteria of CGPA and what is that CGPA that they want. Let's now talk about all these 4 years in detail if you want to get a full-time job. So in the first year, I would highly suggest you to start with competitive programming. The reason why I'm focusing so much on competitive programming is because almost all these MNCs and big companies that would come in your college would have a technical interview round. Now in this technical interview round, which is going to be in your third or your fourth years, this round will only contain all DSA knowledge that you might have accumulated throughout these years. And the best way to learn about DSA is through competitive programming. First, get into that. You can use tools like CodeChef, LeetCode, and so on and so forth. But in the start, I would highly recommend you to start with CodeChef, then move over to LeetCode, and over there you can start solving a lot of problems. So that was for your first year and building the base ground for your technical interviews later ahead. In your second year, I would recommend you to start with development. Now, when I was in my college days, in my second year, I started with Android app development, and that's where I began my entire development journey. The best way to get into development is through participating in hackathons. By the third year of your college, make sure that you have at least 2 different projects which are full stack projects. Now this would include projects that you have completed right from scratch, and they have all the features, not just a static page, not just a portfolio website. This contains a backend, this contains a front end, this contains every single thing in this entire project. The project that I had built and launched was a club application. So it was a nightlife application where you could book for tickets and different entries for different clubs and bars and all these things, right? Apart from this, in your third year, you now start with the interview preparation. So over here, make sure that you give as many interviews as possible. Make sure that the interviews that you're giving are in the companies that you actually want to be part of. In this year, you might also be eligible to a lot of internships. So make sure to start applying to these internships because many of these internships later convert to a PPO. PPO basically means pre-placement offer, and usually the students who have given internships in a specific company, they get converted to full-time employees over there, and this is basically what PPO is. If you haven't cracked an internship in your third year, if you haven't gotten that PPO letter yet, then in your fourth year, I would highly recommend you to start going with off-campus placements, and the best way to go about it is through LinkedIn and cold DMing and cold messaging. How do you reach out to them? Go over to LinkedIn, search for the company that you want to be a part of, search for the HRs over there, recruiters over there, and start messaging them. Of course, this requires you to have a CV made, this requires you to have a good portfolio as well. So I'm assuming that in your first, second and third year, you have done all of these things along with building those 2 full stack applications. The second roadmap is for people who want to start freelancing or start with their own business or an agency. Now this is the roadmap that I have personally followed throughout my 4 years, and here I can share my perspective, my experiences, and the things that I should have avoided, or maybe the mistakes that I've done in the past. So in the first year, I started exploring all the things that I could land my hands on. So I started getting into Android app development, I got into Flutter development, I got into every single thing that you could think about. I even started competitive programming, which is generally a roadmap for people who want to get jobs later ahead. This way, in my first year itself, I got to know what are the things that I like, what are the things that I want to get deep in and want to learn more about. Now, the reason why I could do all of these things is because if you choose this particular roadmap, CGPA does not matter at all. Yes, it does not matter at all. You don't need to maintain even 5 CGPA, 6 CGPA, nothing. You can have any CGPA that you want. And over here, the only thing that matters is your portfolio and the projects that you work on. In my first year itself, I started building a lot of different projects. In my second year, I had almost 3 to 4 different projects which were full stack applications that I could show in my portfolio. Now, when I was building these projects in my second year, I started documenting every single thing. Now, I was documenting it through my YouTube channel, coming in front of a camera and talking about it. But if you are not comfortable with that, I would recommend you to start with Twitter. Twitter is the best place for developers and LinkedIn as well. So if you are active on these 2 platforms, if you can at least write a blog or write a few words about what you're doing in the day, then it will be a great way to start getting noticed and get in clients as well. The first client that I got was for a mobile app development project, and it was just because I was posting about these things on my LinkedIn and on my Instagram stories. They saw some of my posts on LinkedIn, they saw some of my Instagram stories, and they reached out to me because they wanted to build an app similar to what I was building. Once you get your first 2 to 3 clients, that is when you can start getting full-time into freelancing. And if you are documenting every single thing, and if you are building a good portfolio and showing it out to the world throughout your social media platforms, then getting new clients would be a piece of cake. But here again, you would require at least 3 to 4 different full stack applications. By full stack, I mean it would be having a front end, back end, you have published this application, people are using this application, and you have active users as well. Until and unless you don't have projects under your belt, it'll be very difficult to get clients in. Now, some people would recommend you to, start using freelancer.com or upwork.com and all these different platforms for freelancers. You can try it out, but I would not recommend that because these platforms are completely filled up with freelancers. So for a new freelancer coming over there, not even having a great portfolio, it's very difficult to get clients from there. Now, another thing that you can do apart from, building your own personal projects is take in internships. The best platform that I used for my internships in my years was internshala.com. So over there, I found, I think, 2 to 3 different internships, and these were all paid internships. Internships are a great way to earn that pocket money as well as learn new things. This will give you that industry exposure that you might not get if you're working all alone. By your third year, you should have at least worked with 2 to 3 different clients, and these clients would come in through your social media by documenting your journey, or even through just talking to people and telling them about what are the services that you provide. Now, this is the year where you will start to expand with your services. Because if you keep yourself limited to being a freelancer working as a one-man team, then it'll be just like a 9 to 5 job wherein instead of having just one client for whom you are working on a salary, you're working for 5 different clients now. So start converting your freelancing business to an agency by building out a team. For me, I started with my agency which is called MetaRiz. So MetaRiz was a tech agency. Now this was formed only because I was doing freelancing in the tech space. I was giving out blockchain services, I was giving out web development services, mobile app development services, and so on and so forth. Now because I was doing all of these things, I had experience with these things as well as a portfolio. I could then build out a team and then run it as an agency instead of doing it as a freelancing base. In freelancing, you directly get paid and you don't have any staff. But when you start converting it to an agency model, that is when you start earning more money, you start getting more revenue, but you also start getting more expenses. So let me know in the comments down below which is the roadmap that you'd be following. Would you be going and becoming a freelancer, or would you be going ahead and getting a job at the end of your years? And tell me why. I keep posting such videos, so go check out my channel and go check this video out. If you liked it, then do press the like button. See you in the next video. Bye bye.